YouTube going. The Goat House is back. And the Deshaun Watson to the Miami Dolphins trade rumors once again are heating up. We're a little closer to trade deadline, pretty damn close actually. So it kind of makes sense, and it feels like it could happen. Now the reports that are coming out from credible sources are saying, making it seem like actually that it's going to happen, and it could happen close. I'm going to break that all down, give you my thoughts on that. Is it actually happening? Is it happening soon? A bunch of different trade scenarios here. I mean, there's a million we can go over, kind of sticking to the more realistic ones here, I decided. And there's things involving Tua Tagovailoa that we're going to talk about as well. So excited to break it all down, give you a lot of my thoughts and all the news on our Twitter already, so make sure you follow that. Be very important. Link down below. Constant live NFL updates, talking during games, keeping you guys involved here as well. So check it out. Like, subscribe, turn notifications on. Got you covered for the trade deadline. Already got a big video out on that. We got power rankings. We got weekly picks. A lot more constant NFL content here at the Goat House. So join us. It'd be much appreciated. Here's our Twitter. Just a lot of thoughts that I'm going to break down even further, and I got some more thoughts here in this video. So again, make sure you check out the Twitter. So kind of what came out today and why we're even making this video. It was reported by Houston reporters, by the way, that the Texans and Dolphins are working on a trade involving Deshaun Watson. And we've heard this one before. We've heard it right before the season. And, it didn't happen. I think some people probably didn't happen because they thought maybe it was fake. Maybe people were hyping up nothing. I am actually certain that the Dolphins had interest then. It just fell apart. Didn't happen. And I am pretty damn sure that the Dolphins are still have strong interest in Deshaun Watson here. So get that out of the way first. But I do think it was interesting. We'll kind of circle back to it, that it's kind of just Houston reporters right now talking about this for now. A trade involving a different player, not involving graphics guy. Involving a different player is in the works. This is according to Aaron Wilson, actually. And that deal would factor into the Watson trade. So that's a deal that's not involving Deshaun Watson, but it would factor into that. So what does that mean? Could it mean Tua? I think a lot of people are kind of looking at that. It could mean Tua. To me, it's more of the Dolphins probably have to shed some space. They have to trade somebody somewhere else to be able to afford Deshaun Watson, perhaps. That could be Tua. It could be, not related to Tua. It could be another player. So that's how I look at that. It means it's a possible 3-team deal. Could they get a third team involved? We don't see that in the NFL a lot. Could we pull another team in here? I think it's possible. It's possible Tua Tagovailoa is involved. But a lot of people, that seems to be a bigger talking point than Deshaun Watson, because we've heard this news before about Deshaun Watson getting traded. Tua actually possibly being involved is more intriguing at this moment, so a lot of people are talking about that. Tua won't be traded to the Texans. We heard that a long time ago, and it sounds like it's very true. The Texans don't have interest in him. Dolphins won't trade him to the Texans. Well, it's more so because the Texans don't really want him. They rather have the value in picks. There's a rumor going around, and I didn't say this on Twitter. I didn't retweet it, and there's a reason for that. There is a rumor that Washington football team is in on Tua. That is the team that is involved with the Dolphins, that third team. It could be a separate deal, and then the Texans and Dolphins can work, or it could be a 3-team deal. That is what is being rumored, but I did not talk about that because, I don't want to make a. Well, I'll say this: I don't know if the source is correct. Well, I'll say this: I don't know if that news is credible. It doesn't mean it's not. It doesn't mean the source is not. It's just something that I don't fully trust right now. I kind of got the feeling, and it's just my take here, that's kind of, if Tua was going to go somewhere else, where's the most likely landing spot? I think we all could say that Washington's probably at the top. It could be more of a prediction, which kind of turns into a rumor. So is it true? We're going to circle back to this some more. But I think this is, I don't want to say it's somebody making something up at all. But I don't think Washington's really involved at this time. I think they can be involved. So with me saying that I don't think this is really true and you should fully believe this, it doesn't mean no chance Tua's going to Washington. It doesn't mean that. So it can definitely happen. But again, we'll circle back to my thoughts on that. But I'm not fully buying that right now. I think the Texans could be blowing this up to draw interest. Something else, we'll kind of circle back with my final thoughts, my kind of prediction here at the end. But they definitely could be blowing this up. I do think it's it's pretty interesting that Houston reporters are the only ones reporting this. That kind of gives me that feeling. All of a sudden, I was like mid making this video and I tweeted about that. It kind of just hit me. Like, who's reporting this? Houston reporters. No big time, no big shots, no Miami guys. Some Miami guys are a little cautious about this. You start to see as well. I do think the Dolphins are interested. They have strong interest. I think they showed that in the past. They could be talking right now. I think Houston's kind of getting out there. This deal is going to happen. It's close to drive other teams in, make other teams panic, because there's a load of teams that have interest in Deshaun Watson. Talked about this on Twitter. There's a load of teams that have this interest. And does that mean they're involved right now? No, they don't have to be involved right now. They may want to wait, but Texans trying to get them in right now, make the offer, see if we can get a better offer than what the Dolphins are offering right now. So to me, that kind of makes sense, but that doesn't mean there isn't anything going on here between the Texans and the Dolphins. I think the Texans are kind of blowing it up that it's very close. I don't know. Again, we'll circle back to my final thoughts. I don't know, and I'm kind of giving away a lot right now. I don't know if it's that close. I think that's exactly what the Texans are blowing up right now. Is it worth it for either team right now to make this deal? I was talking about this on Twitter as well. The Texans, I feel like, some people think that they'll get less, they'll lose leverage because things could spark off the field with Deshaun Watson. And that's possible. I guess it's a gamble for the Texans. For me, just looking at a football standpoint, I think there'll be every offseason more and more teams need quarterbacks compared to in season because they're rolling with the quarterback right now. They're playing right now. Every single year, it's a guarantee. More teams compared to right now. More teams in the offseason will need quarterbacks. So that'll create a bidding war. Teams will get desperate. They'll look at this draft class, which will be closer to, and there will be, teams will be desperate. And it's for a very good quarterback as well. So it'll create a bidding war. Texans get more. So that's why then they should wait. But again, it is a gamble because the off the field issues, I should say. And the Dolphins, Dolphins are sitting at 1-5 right now. Beginning of the season, it felt like, maybe they were Deshaun Watson away from being more than just a contender. Now it feels like it's really not all Tua's fault. I know Tua missed some games as well. I'm not thrilled with the coaching. I'm not thrilled with the running game. I'm not thrilled with the offensive line. The defense, surprisingly, is pretty bad right now. I know they've been beat up, but they rely too much on creating turnovers, which you can't always do. You can't repeat it from a previous year, which they were last year. That's kind of why they're a big-time defense. So it feels like they need more. Season's kind of not over, but almost heading that direction. So I would say I would like it for the Texans if they got that big-time haul. Like, I don't feel there's a difference of what they would have got in the offseason. I would like it for the Dolphins if it was felt like, it doesn't need to be, I don't expect there to be a steal when it comes to the Deshaun Watson trade. I do not expect the Texans to get fleeced like they did with like a DeAndre Hopkins. Don't see that at all, but I guess as close as to a steal as we could say for Deshaun Watson, then I'd be okay with it with the Dolphins because I think maybe not being able to contend this year because you're 1-5 is kind of a small part of it because, this is not it for Deshaun Watson. You got the next year, the year after. So did have some thoughts on those. To the trade scenarios, there's a million scenarios with picks and with players. This is probably the one. This is probably the one. We heard a couple weeks ago maybe that the Texans did kind of come down on their asking price, which was 3 1s. Well, at one point it was 3 1s, 3 2s, and maybe a player as well. And then it kind of felt like it was 3 1s and 3 2s, 3 of each. So it sounds like they've come down a little bit. I don't really expect it to be a lot. So we removed a second-round pick here. We got a first in 2022, which is from the 49ers. We got 2023, 2024, then a 2022 and a 2023 second-round pick. That's kind of like the most likely scenario. I know it's it's not really boring because a lot of picks, but there's no players involved here. So I know people are looking for players, but in another one here, so maybe they, let's knock off another second here. Maybe they did come down on their asking price a little bit, but it's not really dropping down compared to that last one that much because you see there is 3 first-round picks, just like the last one, but this time within the next 2 years because in 2023, actually, the Dolphins have 2 first-round picks, and then one being from the San Francisco 49ers. So Texans get 3 picks within the next 2 years, which is a little more valuable in my opinion. I think team's opinion as well. So then you throw 1 second-round pick on top of that. I do think that's very possible. Honestly, the Dolphins may rather do scenario 1 with an extra second-round pick. Possibly. And why I say that? Some people may think that's stupid. I understand that, but why? Because even with trading a 2022, a 2023, and a 2024, the Dolphins will have an extra 2023 pick because they have two. So they may rather not miss out on drafting, for a long time then, because they actually have that pick from San Francisco. So if that makes sense. So pretty damn similar scenario than scenario one. But it's another option here. Xavier Howard's been thrown out there. I really don't see it, but there was talk in the offseason about it happening. So that's why it's just interesting to talk about. What if you throw Xavier Howard in there and that kind of takes the place of a first-round pick? Because you get a star cornerback. He's under contract right now. And then you get 2 first-round picks within the next 2 years, and you throw a second in there as well. I do think that's possible. I listed at the bottom there, as you could tell, some other players that I think can be involved. Instead of Xavier Howard, maybe the other corner, Byron Jones. Maybe he's very solid, very good. Maybe he hasn't lived up to that contract. It's debatable. It's possible he has. But so maybe they would like to move on from him because Xavier Howard's a big-time cornerback here. Jalen Phillips, I don't see the Dolphins wanting to trade him because, they're very high on him. I was very high on him. I think he's just going to start getting going soon. So, and they need more pass rush, really. So it's tough to see them trade a pass rusher, but to get Deshaun Watson, it might be possible. The Texans are and that's mainly why I throw the pass rushers in there, because the Texans are looking for pass rushers. Texans are looking for pass rushers that fit, and I think they would like Jalen Phillips. They would ask for him. They probably have already. I just don't really see the Dolphins. Emmanuel Ogbah, would the Texans be interested in him? I think he fits. It's a possibility there. So other players I thought of. Devontae Parker's been rumored. It's more of just a rumor in a potential trade. I don't see the Texans, having any use for him. It's again just rumors there with Devontae Parker. And then we move on to, Brandon Cooks, the guy that's been dealt a lot, but that's really not why I think he'd be dealt again. The Texans are kind of unloading. They're trying to get more and more picks here. They're gonna trade Deshaun Watson eventually. So they're gonna unload the veterans here. What if the Dolphins could use him? I actually made scenarios with that 3-team deal talk. Brandon Cooks even going to the 3rd team as well. I had all these different scenarios. I had to calm down for a second because I do think a lot of it's kind of smoke, the Texans blowing things up. And I don't know if I really don't think there's a 3rd team involved for a 3-team deal. I really don't think so. That doesn't mean it's not possible. In my mind, it certainly can happen. I got to calm down. We all got to calm down a little bit. I don't think it's actually my money's on it not happening. The 3-team deal, that is. So I thought it'd be really ridiculous, and I actually had graphics for that too. But just looking at it, the Dolphins, they really wanted to put Fuller and Waddle out there. Fuller's been hurt. It's only a 1-year deal. Do they really trust him at this point? Really, Waddle looked good last week. I love what I saw from Waddle last week, but receivers, honestly, and Gesicki's great, not a receiver, but a part of that group, obviously, but maybe a little disappointing outside of that so far. Injuries playing a part for sure. So add that speed in Cooks, possibly get him along with Deshaun Watson, because it might be one of those things where, all right, the Texans won't budge. They need all these picks. They need the three ones, whether it's through 3 ones from the next 2 years or from the next 3 years, and they need 2 twos or whatever. Maybe it's 3 twos. They're not going to budge. All right, if you're not going to budge, if you need those picks, you're going to give us Brandon Cooks. All right, so I can actually see that. To me, that's pretty realistic. Or a player like Brandon Cooks. And the recently mentioned players, like I said, that scenario where the Dolphins send players to the Texans, sure, that can be involved. That many players be involved, I think, unlikely, but sure they can be involved. So looking at these different scenarios, again, I was definitely tinkering with Tua being involved going to a 3rd team. I kind of had to back off that a little bit, I think. And it's definitely interesting to think about. I will say I did wish I made a graphic on now that I'm recording, but if you're listening to me, Tua's landing spots, I think Washington's one of them. I don't think they're actually in on him right now. The Lions, I think the Lions make sense. Panthers would. I think Darnold's like just as much of a project. Tua's, I should say that. I said that backwards, but you get my point. And they trade away a lot of picks, so it'd have to be a future pick probably. And then maybe the Steelers looking for a future guy. The Saints would be probably a deep wild card. So those teams, I'm sticking maybe Detroit and Washington at the top. And that's not because I think that's why maybe people are talking about Washington, because they're kind of predicting in a way. And putting it out there to see if they're right. Possible, I could be wrong. See if they're right. So kind of final thoughts and somewhat of a prediction. I don't think a deal happens right now. And again, like I talked about in the beginning of this video, I think the Texans be blowing it up. I think what they're blowing it, I don't think they're lying that the Dolphins are interested. And, I don't think they're lying about at all. I think that's actually real. I think everything that's come out about the Dolphins being interested is very real. I don't think anybody's making that up. What I think the Texans are blowing up and feeding that their reporters is that this deal is that close and, it's that serious right now. It's serious, but that serious, and that it's happening right now. So because the Texans kind of got to, it kind of tells me the Texans kind of got to feel that this might go down. We might just do this. We might pull the trigger, but let's get it out there that it's serious. It's happening now. So the other teams that hey, we're interested in Watson, and but we got to wait a little bit, wait it out. We got to panic. No, we got to get in there now because we want this guy. We don't want to have anybody else to have this guy. So that it's kind of a smart move if that's the case, which is kind of my feeling right now. Because right when the news started coming out today, I was like, oh, God, this is happening. And I had to, sometimes you got to sit there and relax a little bit and think about this. And it popped in my head literally when I tweeted that the Texans could be blowing this up a little bit. So I don't really think it's happening now. I'm not guaranteeing anything there. Those reporters I trust. I don't report things from, based on reporters that I do not trust. I have to fully trust what they say. Maybe but I do think things are kind of getting blown up. They're not lying about anything for sure not. That's kind of what they've been told there. So I do think it's interesting that there's reports from credible sources that there's another deal that's a factor in this. That kind of makes it seem like it's legit because where the heck would we come up with that right now, But I don't think a deal right now, right this second. I feel like it definitely could happen by deadline. 3-4 weeks ago, Rapport was saying, 4 weeks ago maybe I want to say, that, yeah, things could happen by the deadline. Then it kind of went quiet. Why? Because the deadline wasn't really near. That wasn't the deadline. Now the deadline's coming. It kind of makes sense. I think the 3-1s and the 2-2s likely scenario. People want the player to be involved. It's definitely very possible. I'm not ruling it out. I think it's more likely just the picks. The Texans, I don't think have a lot of interest in a lot of these players unless they're fresh, they're young. Jalen Phillips. Dolphins don't want to trade Jalen Phillips. Dolphins would like to keep that one of those 2023 first-round picks. So keep that in mind as well. They would like to keep one of those. I talked about the next part. Texans, I think, are blowing it up. They're trying to draw teams in and price up. I kind of talked about that. I really feel like what the smoke is here from the Texans is it's so serious and it's happening. It's happening right now. It's happening this week. That to me is what's being blown up. That's the smoke. That's just my opinion. That's just kind of my thoughts here. I've been writing a lot of these predictions for these trades. This one, it's up in the air. There's so many different scenarios. It's up in the air. If my thoughts are correct, that they're kind of blowing it up right now, but I still feel like it's gonna. Deshaun Watson will be traded. He will be traded. That I'm very, very certain on. That doesn't mean right now though. So I think it's pretty damn possible it could happen by the deadline. And the Dolphins, we know, are the team that's interested. We're linking Washington to Tua. How about linking Washington to Deshaun Watson? I think there's still a possibility. But again, if you believe it or not, if you believe this news, any of this or not, what we all should believe is that the Dolphins have pretty strong interest in Deshaun Watson. The Dolphins, that is. So, I think we all should believe that. It doesn't mean it's going to happen right this second, Week 7, Atlanta Falcons coming up this week. It's really a must-win game for the Dolphins. It's a must-play-well game for Tua Tagovailoa. I think that kind of decides a lot. And it's kind of funny that I say that because I can almost argue myself a little bit here, actually, because, it does, if Tua doesn't play well, the Dolphins don't look good. They feel like they're a great quarterback away. Then they go make the deal. To me, that makes sense. But, if they lose again and they feel like, there's a scenario where they lose. That's what I'm talking about. I can argue with myself because there's a scenario where they lose and that means they don't trade for Deshaun Watson because they lose and they feel like there's so many pieces they need and it's not just a quarterback situation. We can't afford to trade a load of draft picks. So that's a possibility as well. But they could trade the picks, get Deshaun Watson, and go wild in free agency. You may not need the draft. I don't believe the Washington football team kind of linked to Tua Tagovailoa. Like I said a little bit ago, I do think I do think Washington football is a landing spot for Tua Tagovailoa, a realistic one, if he's to get dealt. I like Detroit Lions as well. After that, next tier down, you look at Panthers, Steelers, Saints. Teams like that. Perhaps maybe Saints a little further down, but. So I don't believe these rumors. I think that it's kind of people. They could be accurate. They could be dead serious. That's for sure. I'm not labeling anybody anything. I think they're kind of rumors / predictions, educated guesses, kind of. But again, since I think that doesn't mean it can't happen. Because again, if you told me Tua was getting traded, Washington might be my top spot, and not because of those rumors. It's just because it kind of makes sense there. There's other teams that I mentioned as well. Tua value is very tricky too. It's very tricky. For a deal to happen to trade Tua. Do the Dolphins even want to trade Tua? That's actually something interesting to think about because they just drafted him 5th overall. And even if they get Deshaun Watson, they don't have any use for Tua. They just drafted Tua 5th overall. Not this past draft, the one before. It just happened. You're going to trade, what would another team offer for Tua? Would they offer anything near that? I know fans wouldn't want their team to. So that, maybe it's really hard to figure out. I'm usually pretty good at figuring out the value on what would actually happen. I think it's tricky because I think the Dolphins would probably need a 2nd round pick. I could be wrong on that because they just drafted him 5th overall. We're going to trade a guy we just drafted 5th overall for nothing. That's going to be bad, But would the other team do that? I know the fans probably wouldn't be happy if their team did that. Maybe some fans, after they did it, they would change their mind. Maybe that happens sometimes, So that's why it's pretty tricky. Does the value match up? Is there a set value? That it's a little tricky, and that's why I think that all of a sudden, I don't know. It's all interesting. It's all interesting. I definitely don't think anybody's like making stuff up, anything like that. I do think the Texans are pushing it out a little more, trying to blow it up to draw more teams' interest, and that could mean just to get the ball rolling because there's no deal close, or that could mean a deal is close. Let's let the teams know this deal is kind of close, and then maybe that'll get somebody to swoop in. And it's kind of the same thing where, hey, we're about to release this guy, and then all of a sudden that guy doesn't get released and he gets traded. It's kind of like the same idea, which we've been seeing a lot of lately. So I think I could be onto something. It makes sense to me. But I haven't heard anything on that. That's kind of my opinion on that whole thing. That's how I take it. The text is kind of blowing up a little bit, but I don't have a firm prediction here. I like scenario one. Scenario one that I did, I think that would be if Deshaun Watson would be traded. I think that would be it. Would a player be involved? Would a player be going out somewhere? I certainly think it's possible because the Dolphins could shed a little more cap. They don't have to shed nearly as much if they wait another week or two, maybe closer to that deadline. So the amount of times we heard it's going to happen, it makes my prediction want to be that this is going to happen by the deadline, and it's going to be somewhere for around that scenario one, where in the Dolphins really, this is my opinion, they don't want to trade both those 2023 twos. That doesn't mean they don't want to trade 3 total, just both of them. They still want to pick. They would like to, but in also part of my prediction, I don't think it happens right this second, this week. But it's kind of sounding like it could from credible sources. So the whole situation's interesting. Would love to hear your guys' thoughts. I know there's a group of people that, believe that it's going to go down. I know there's a group of people that, because last time it felt like BS, that it's just definitely not happening. It's just BS. But I don't think any of it's BS. I think sometimes things like, and the main point of this video is that I kind of think it kind of get blown up a little bit. So, that's kind of my point here. Yeah, but that's going to wrap up this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Again, we're looking forward to your comments on Twitter or in the comment section here. We're always talking with you guys, live updates on Twitter. If you're not following that Twitter, you're missing out. If you don't have a Twitter, I recommend you make one. It'd definitely be worth it. Twitter's probably my favorite thing on the planet, to be honest. It's big time here, especially for this time of the year. So check it out. Link down below. That is going to do it for this one. Please like, subscribe. Appreciate you guys for watching. Goodbye.